U.S. senators released a joint congressional report about the former vice president's son, outlining potential conflicts of interest between the Bidens and Ukraine. Part of their findings were what they considered Hunter Biden's questionable business deals.
While 2020 Democratic candidate Joe Biden was vice president, his son Hunter was offered a position on the board of Burisma, a Ukrainian gas company, in 2014. He accepted the offer, but a new congressional report says the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine called Hunter's board position awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda there. The Republican chairman behind the report say the perception of a potential conflict of interest was raised to the vice president's office in 2015, but it was never addressed. Again that year, the report says a State Department official brought up the issue, saying it gave Russia the ability to spread disinformation and risk undermining U.S. policy in Ukraine. Burisma paid Hunter and his brother, according to the report, over $4 million for their board memberships. Critics of Joe and his family claim the Bidens appear to have suspiciously profited from Joe's government influence. Joe Biden has said it was a bad image, but that no one has found anything wrong with his son's dealings. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Democratic candidate Joe Biden says he will be firm on China's human rights abuses and its militarization in the South China Sea.
Look, there's a lot at stake in this relationship and how we handle it. I will be firm on China's violation of human rights, its militarization in the South China Sea, and a whole range of things. A recent analysis points out that China knows that I will be straight, but they also are worried that I will be tough.
Biden's comments came after a reporter asked him about U.S.-China relations under his administration if elected. It's not known what recent analysis he was referring to. The FBI is warning about potential cyber fraud during the election. The Bureau says cyber criminals could create false websites and social media content to spread disinformation. Their goal is to discredit the electoral process and undermine U.S. democracy. Our reporter Kevin Hogan spoke with a fraud expert on how widespread this is and how you can protect yourself.
Turning to the cyber arena.
According to the FBI, foreign actors and cyber criminals may be attempting to interfere with the 2020 election results. Mail-in voting may cause the results to be delayed. The FBI says cyber criminals may exploit this delay by sending out false reports of voter suppression and by launching cyber attacks on election infrastructure. Cybersecurity expert Robert Siciliano says hackers can easily clone government websites and send out links to these false sites through various means.
Once these clone websites are created, then the disinformation campaign begins to seed links to that particular site through social media and through phishing email campaigns. So the majority of the traffic is generated via word of mouth, via social media. And once the disinformation articles are created with links to those particular sites and they go viral, then they become very popular and the bad guys in this case win.
Siciliano says people on disinformation campaigns will do this to fool people into voting on false sites, distract voters, or even mislead them with false information to corrupt their vote. He says it only takes basic software to create these campaigns and multiply the false websites, blogs, and social media profiles with anywhere from 5 to 1,000 people working on a campaign worldwide.
Those that are responsible for creating these mis- and disinformation campaigns, they have armies of coders, people that are setting up fake profiles on various social media platforms. They are setting up fake blogs, fake websites that are designed to express a campaign's end goal in mind, generally utilizing mis- and disinformation.
According to the Pew Research Center, 75% of Americans think other countries will try to interfere with the 2020 election. And U.S. intel officials said China, Russia, and Iran are trying to do just that. Siciliano says if an article immediately causes an emotional reaction, it may be designed as disinformation to influence the voter. He says it's important for voters to do their own research and seek out the facts.
Make your own informed decisions opposed to simply reacting emotionally and then sharing that information with everybody in your life because you're so upset about it and then just being a victim of disinformation.
The FBI recommends seeking out information from trustworthy sources such as state and local election officials. The Bureau says to report suspicious posts to the social media companies and to let the FBI know of any disinformation about the manner, time, or location of voting. Kevin Hogan, NTD News, New York.
Over the course of the nationwide Black Lives Matter protests, many have voiced grievances that the American government has failed them since the nation's founding. This phenomenon led national scholars, Congress members, and the president to look closely at how students learn about American history. They found that students are learning an incomplete version of events, and it's turning students against America's founding principles. So a nonprofit organization is working on a curriculum that rejects the idea that anti-Black racism is at the root of America's founding. NTD's Melina Weisskopf spoke to the scholar who's piecing together the new curriculum to find out more about it.
If you choose to only look at one aspect of our country's history, only focus on the racial oppression, then you can create the impression that this country is forever doomed.
That's why Ian Rowe is working with other scholars in the 1776 Unites campaign to develop curricula that teaches young American citizens what they call a more complete account of slavery's history in America.
So part of the goal with the 1776 Unites curriculum is to tell stories of largely unknown African American figures who, again, embraced the founding ideals of the country. So Biddy Mason, a woman who was born a slave and ultimately died a millionaire and became a great philanthropist.
Along with learning about these biographies, this K-12 curriculum encourages students to discuss topics like integrity, resilience, agency, and to reflect on their own inner character. Robert Woodson is the founder of the 1776 initiative. He describes it as an inspirational alternative to what he calls the lethal narrative that claims America was built on structural racism.
And it offers no solutions at all to the problem. They're saying that America is defined by race and just leaves it there.
To create a curriculum that combats this perspective, Rowe turned to his decade of experience teaching students from lower socioeconomic statuses. He told us the key is to inspire kids to take control over their future.
But utilizing the power of family, the power of faith, the power of free enterprise, the power of hard work to achieve even despite the odds.
Rowe says the goal is to have these lessons available anywhere character is being developed. The new lesson plans were just released and have already seen great success, with thousands of downloads in just under a week's time. It can be taught anywhere in the country, and free downloads are available at 1776unites.com. Reporting by Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The New York City Police Commissioner commented on how the NYPD is working with businesses to make the city safer. He guaranteed there will be a significant drop in violent crime at the end of the year, this year.
During nightly BLM protests, businesses in New York City fell victim to looting and property damage, but they're now facing a potential new danger. Over 240 shootings occurred in August. Murders have also increased by 50%. In a recent interview with Crain's New York Business, NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea reassured business owners that they're not alone.
I've had meeting after meeting this week with people from business communities, representatives from New York City that above all else say that they're concerned and they're worried about their city. And what I try to do every time is to, number one, put them at ease, let them know that we'll be there with them. Number two, give them a plan. And that's probably the hardest point now with everything that we're facing.
Shea said the $1 billion cut to the NYPD's budget caused the uptick in violent crime. The budget cut came amid demands to defund the police over what protesters call systematic racism. But according to some business owners, the more police, the better.
The crime is little bit before now is a little bit increased, the crime situation. So I think the police, the watching is need more. This is the very essential for the small business.
One of them said the suppression of law enforcement could lead to more crimes.
They have to let the police do their job, and by the city or the politicians holding the police back, spikes in crime will just go up.
The city's bail reform law has allowed criminals to be released without bail shortly after being arrested. Commissioner Shea said violent crime will drop once the justice system is fully unleashed.
So it's slow and steady, but we are seeing, John, some improvement here. As those courts really open up even further, we are going to have some significant impact in terms of driving violence down. I guarantee it.
The commissioner said it's important to know the positives in the middle of this dark period and for New Yorkers to stick together.